Good evening, boxing fans. Welcome to Enter the Ring Live for Sunday. What is the date? December the 19th, 2021. One of the last remaining shows of the year with your hosts, Mighty Mike.
AJ Rage.
And Eric the Red.
And I guess our fourth co-host is currently on the road traveling, so he won't be able to join us today, but maybe he's tuning in to watch. So what's up, Salsa Gav?
Salsa Gav.
Salsa
Man
Gav.
on the street in Las Vegas, man.
That's right. That's our ear to the he's got his ear to the grind. Is that what they call it?
Ear to the grindstone.
Yeah, there you go.
Like that. Yeah, there you go.
Happy Sunday, guys. What's going on?
Sunday, brothers.
Happy Sunday.
Another day in this wonderful world of confusion. Like that song. What's that song? This is the land of whatever that song. I can't remember.
Oh yeah, Genesis, Land of Confusion.
Yeah, there you go.
And Disturbed made a remake of that song, and I don't know why. They should just completely scrap that from their catalog. It was horrible.
A lot of bands do that, bro. To be honest with you.
I love how you guys know so much about just not only boxing, but music in general. You guys just wow.
That's all we give a shit about.
That's all we care about in this world, bro.
Boxing and music.
We're sitting in our offices on a Sunday night when most people are watching Sunday NFL. And we're in here. I'm in here in a sweat box. I mean, literally, I feel like I'm in that scene from the Django. And
is it hot? Oh, you got the heater on?
Air conditioners tripped. The thing tripped, so I got to go fix it. And it's cold outside, but I got so much insulation because it's a studio. I got to be aware of sound coming in. I'm dying.
It was hot in there.
Eric saw me, dude. I'm literally naked in here, dude.
Get a fan.
My fan broke too.
Oh, geez.
You know what to get me for Christmas one day? So,
Hey guys, listen, we had a pretty eventful weekend of boxing. One of the last actually big boxings, or maybe the last big boxing weekend before we head into 2022. Let's just go ahead and jump right in. I guess we could start on the card Friday that took place from the Bell Center in Canada. Is that Bell Center? Is that Montreal or Quebec? Montreal. The Bell Center. I know we were discussing a little bit about the undercard in general. I didn't get to see the entire undercard because I was working kind of late, but you guys mentioned just how atrocious it was. I did see the female fight, the championship fight that took place.
You call that a championship fight?
Well, that's what I said in quotes. Technically, it was for a vacant whatever belt, IBF 100. What was it?
154-pound championship.
154-pound championship.
Yeah.
First thing that comes to mind when I look at the eventual winner of the fight, his hair named Dakar. Horrible shape. Why is this woman fighting at this weight? She's nowhere near fighting shape.
No.
She reminded me of a journeyman heavyweight. Carries entirely 10 to 12 pounds of extra body weight. And it just shows either lack of dedication or she just, because of her age, her advanced age as a fighter, she's not an old woman, but for a fighter, she's in her 30s, right?
Yeah.
Mid 30s. That's a little bit old to be a fighter. Either way, just a very, very, like AJ, you said it, you put a post out there saying that fight set women's boxing back 10 years. You go from, like, even if you're not a fan of Katie Taylor or the fight that took place the week prior, you look at that fight and the ability that they displayed and the conditioning, and then this fight. Oh my God.
I could just tell you from my viewpoint of it, absolutely one of the most horrible overall cards I've seen in quite a while. I mean, this is the kind of, and I love boxing. You remember, I'm the type of guy, just like you guys, I'll watch on a grainy screen, fights from Tijuana, Mexico of two guys you've never heard of because I just love boxing. But this was an absolute showcase for Canada to be proud of something because they don't have a whole lot to be proud of lately. The matchmaker was obviously intent in overmatching every opponent coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you got to go as far, as pulling guys out of these little tiny areas of Mexico and other places and stuff like this, that to look at the guys, I mean, you could tell they look like they hadn't trained, they hadn't done anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're getting up to the buildup, obviously the buildup being, main event, Marcus Browne versus Arthur Beterbiev. But they're talking about this Marie Despair, whatever her name is, and she's fighting against this girl that's a complete novice. The thing that shocked me the most, and I'm pulling up my records here, so I make sure I told myself before today that I'm going to make sure I start getting people's names. I have a lot of information, but I tend to really not get the names like I'm supposed to. So The girl that she fought against was Cynthia Lozano.
Yeah.
This is the thing that was
Try-
shocking to me. She had absolutely no boxing skill whatsoever. She didn't even know how to throw a straight punch. Her whole thing was, I'm just going to maul her with my ugliness.
I'm just going to walk forward and take punches and hope I land something.
Yeah. And, you know, and if I saw one more video of the girl Despair singing in her dressing room, I was just like, dude, I'm ready to tune out here. I don't want to watch that main event that bad. So this girl, Cynthia Lozano, the reason why I said it set women's boxing back 10 years on my post that probably some people didn't like on Facebook was the fact that this girl actually killed somebody in the ring in her last bout.
She's the one that killed the Mexican girl, the girlfriend that came in from Mexico, right?
No, I think the woman was like, you know her name. I've heard it before. Her name was, I'll tell you right now. Give me 1 second, brother. I'm so sorry.
I think I saw that fight. It was just recently, right?
No, this was
Hey, Michael.
Yeah.
Unplug your camera and then plug it back in. It's flashing in and out.
Yeah, you know what? I'm having internet issues, guys. I've been having it the last. So if I lose you guys, just carry on, and I'll try to log back in.
I can't remember the girl's name. But
it's
yeah.
stopped now.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something going on with my.
Yeah, it's okay, bro. Don't worry about it. But yeah. So she killed her in the ring, and I thought to myself, when you get killed in the ring, you're getting beat by somebody who's actually got more skill than you. So how little skill? And I'm not trying to shit on this poor girl who passed away, but wow, man.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at women's boxing and you know, the only high points, I'll be honest with you, for me personally, is Amanda Serrano. Outside of Amanda Serrano, it's really hard for me to get up for even Katie Taylor fights. Katie Taylor fights completely overmatch people all the time. Jessica McCaskill is a complete, just a brute. That's all she is.
Yeah. Savannah Marshall's got skill. Savannah Marshall, if you guys have seen her fight, she's got a good jab. She moves and she's got knockout power.
Well, the thing is, at 154, I think they even said there was only 8 fighters in that.
That's the problem with Savannah Marshall and all.
That's the problem she has. She's fighting at a weight where there's nobody really there. Yeah. I mean, they're trying to coax Clarissa Shields up into that fight, but you know, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah,
exactly. But just kind of talking about a little bit about the card, about a couple of the other fights. Steve Rolls. I'll just go to that fight. Steve Rolls fought on the card, and he fought against a guy that a booker that I've seen fight a few times. I thought he was done 4 or 5 years ago. The guy's just completely shot,
and he was still fighting.
And the thing that just really kind of drives me nuts is they're acting like Steve Rolls at 37 years old, based off of his complete annihilation at the hands of Gennady Golovkin, that he still has a opportunity in the talent field middleweight division. Where does Steve Rolls fit in there? I'll tell you right now, nowhere. You know.
Well, it's like a week ago when they pulled Hank Lundy out of, I don't know, semi-retirement and flew him across the pond to make one of their guys look good, and that's exactly, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, that's that kind of stuff that just really it really sickens me and stuff, because I saw that fight, but you know, just the whole overall card was just one after another. I mean, and to hear that the commentators just making excuses like, well, you know, like with that one guy Ponder that fought, and it's like, you know, he's only doing this because he likes boxing. He's not going to be a world champion. Maybe he wants to win a regional title. And I'm like, why is this on prime time? You couldn't dig up, offer Lucian Boutte a bunch of money. Maybe he'll come back. I don't care. I don't want to watch stuff like that. So that's about all I have to say about that. So why don't we go and jump to the main event, bro?
Yeah. God, where to start with that main event? And I texted you guys, brutal. I mean, just the amount of blood that was involved in that fight. Both guys were bleeding. Artur Beterbiev keeps his knockout streak intact and wins by 9th round KO. It wasn't a TKO because Marcus Browne refused. He could have beat the count. You could see it, but that's last body shot that landed was just, it was just too much for him. He had been getting hit to the body a little bit, but I just find it it's kind of fascinating. I don't know what to make of it. Beterbiev gave away the first 2 rounds, I thought. And we have different opinions on this. I think he gave away the first 2 rounds. I think maybe he had to knock some rust off. If you guys remember looking back, and it's no fault of anybody.
All the fights, bro. I think the words out on Beterbiev, and if you look at a lot of the stuff that's getting out there from even a lot of the experts that are talking, there's been talk about him. Obviously, I'm not going to mention Canelo because he's not in the Canelo sweepstakes right now. You know, there's other things. Canelo's got to deal with this cruiserweight first. I know he's talked about, I know Beterbiev, he was only 2 ounces over at the weigh-in, not a big deal, but he was naturally a bigger guy in his deception in boxing. You know, he fought guys like Alexander Usyk. He used to fight at the heavyweight during the amateurs.
Yeah.
There's been talk about him moving up to the cruiserweight division and facing guys like Marcus Bredes. I'll tell you, Marcus Bredes will end Arthur Beterbiev and put him in a package and mail him home. He's too hittable.
Well, that's not what I was saying. What I was saying was this was he hadn't fought in almost 2 years.
Yeah.
He only had one fight in a 2-year span. And that, like I said, I mean, COVID, whatever, Canada, he switched, he relocated from Russia to Montreal. He's training now with Mark Ramsey, which I don't think is a good idea. I think he knocked off some of the rust. And then in the 4th round, right? It was early in the 4th round is when that head clash.
Yeah.
And isn't it ironic too that the last time Marcus Browne was involved in a major head clash, it was against Badu Jack. The guy must have sharp features on his head,
bro. That's what stopped Marcus Browne's only loss against John Pascal was the head clash.
No, but I'm talking Marcus Browne, his fight with Lucian. No, I'm sorry, Badu Jack.
It was horrible.
That was. And I'm like, wow, man, this guy must have a really sharp features underneath his skin. But I don't know. I mean, I know you got listen, and I'm not really high on Beterbiev. I think he peaked in his fight against Vazdik. I did. Yeah. He's 36 years old now, and when you're 36 years old, you have to stay active. You have to stay active. You can't be fighting once every year, once every 18 months. You can't. I think he's out of the Canelo sweepstakes, but for a different reason. I just don't think there's any reward in it for Canelo. There's no reward. There's no money there. He doesn't bring a lot of money to the table. He's not a well-known fighter. We know him. I mean, his fight was on a Friday night in Montreal. How many people, I would venture to say the ratings for that fight are going to be pretty piss poor because the undercard was garbage. And then he's fighting as, he's kind of, he's like the best thing in Canada right now. But it's like, I don't know. It's like saying, well, I'm the best player in the D League if I'm a basketball player, or I'm the best player in, Division 9 high school football. Yeah, you're good for that market, but I think he doesn't get enough credit for, well, he's tough. Okay. He's very tough. Marcus Browne was doing well those first few rounds. After 4 or 5 rounds, I had Marcus Browne up probably 3 rounds to 1, or maybe even after five rounds, maybe 4 rounds to 1. But you have to give Beterbiev credit for fighting through that blood loss, and in his face. Yeah. You have to give him credit for that.
Well, both fighters were losing a lot of blood. Marcus Browne wasn't quite to the extent.
Yeah, his was on the eye. His was on his right eye.
But obviously the blood loss affected Marcus Browne a little bit more, not to mention the consistent punches from Beterbiev. My only issue, honestly, bro, with Beterbiev is this. Here's a guy that's a storied amateur, and so many of the things that he does in there is wrong. He's so slow. At moments, he does show a bit of pop where he can actually get something in, but he has to have it within a short distance. You're not seeing him catch anybody from a long distance. He does cut off the ring well, but he's so slow of foot. He's so slow of hand. He's easily hittable. He makes so many mistakes. And I think to myself, everybody's so fascinated on him facing Canelo. To me, there's bigger fish to fry in his own division. I'm not saying, I definitely think he beats Bivol, only because Bivol is he's not even, to me, a legitimate light heavyweight. I think he should be fighting at super middleweight myself personally. But I look at the division, and when they bring up names like the same retread like Joe Smith and all these guys, I'm tired of hearing that crap. I got a guy that I was thinking about the other day, and I thought to myself, if he could be more durable because he's shown pop in his debut at light heavyweight, that'd be Callum Smith. He's got the height and he's got the box skills. But there are guys, not to mention the young upstart, David Morrell. Yeah, now, I know people are going to say whatever, but Morrell, I went back and I watched his last couple of fights. Just based on his movement, his speed, and his strength, he's going to give, even at his novice state, he's going to give Beterbiev problems, because Beterbiev Marcus Browne doesn't have the greatest chin, and he was taking those punches. Beterbiev's not the monster he's not a one-punch knockout. He's an accumulation guy that would just break you down, but he's not a devastating person to go in there and just hit you with one shot. So I think that whole
he's not
monster that they try to make it like kind of went out the window,
Well, like I said, I mean, I agree. It wasn't his best performance, and I'm not gonna say it was, but you have once again, you have to give him credit for his his just relentlessness. He's relentless. He just
He's a
keeps
brawler.
coming.
He's a brawler.
He's bleeding.
Yeah.
He's, you know, and he took a couple of good shots from Marcus Browne. Nothing really phased him at all.
Oh
But
no, he got a little. He took a couple little, not hurt, but aware of the punches.
He started taking punches probably from like the 5th round on. Once that blood got in his face, he started taking punches. And even though he lost the first few rounds, he didn't really take anything significant from Browne. He does a good little job of just stepping back just a little bit. He just fades back just a little bit. He pulls straight. I mean, he gets away with it. I don't know. I don't know. It's really hard to get a read on that, because you're like, which Marcus Browne was this? Was he really up for the fight? You know what I mean? Did he have a good training camp? Whatever. It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah. You want to see Beterbiev in a fight with, like, you know, like I said, the Beterbiev that beat Gvozdyk was an absolute beast in a machine, because Gvozdyk was going through everybody, and Gvozdyk's a phenomenal boxer. Came out of Ukraine with Lomachenko and Usyk, phenomenal, and he broke him down and stopped him. That was the most impressive win to me. This one, not so much. I mean, what impressed me was just his toughness to battle through that constant blood loss. And it wasn't like a little. There were times when I'm thinking, how does he even see? His entire face was covered in blood. Not as bad as Pascal.
And the thing, Badu Jack.
Yeah, Badu Jack. Badu Jack didn't bleed nearly that much, though.
No,
Badu Jack stopped after a while.
I think he ran out of blood. I think is what happened. It bled so bad.
Dude, Beterbiev just kept bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. I really thought they were going to stop it.
Yeah, I definitely did too early. But one of the guys that I was really thinking about that I know he's in line to fight against Beterbiev. He actually destroyed the guy who fought against Zurdo and Gonzalez. Yeah, and that's Joshua Buatsi, yeah,
the UK fighter.
Dude, I've seen him fight a few times. He's very strong. He's a big hitter. He's a big guy. He's got
the frame of a heavyweight.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's the type of guy that where Beterbiev, that aggressive posturing that he does, may not work against a guy that's physically, you know, bigger than him and possibly stronger. He's going to have to rely on his boxing skill. And I just didn't, you know, I know he possesses it, but it's just not there, because I think he's, you know, when you're 16-0 with 16 knockouts, you kind of get used to something.
Yeah, and like I said, he's 36. I mean, he's very close to turning 37 years old, got a late start as a professional, and then his career has just been stagnant. It's a shame. It really is a shame. At this point in his career, I think he should have at least 25
issues, or what is it? Do you know anything behind as far as what's going on?
It was promotional issues. He was never picked up by any of the big. He was kind of like Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin fought for years in Germany. Remember, under K2. The same, and then had that contractual dispute, and they just kind of shelved him, and then he had to kind of sit it out, which is why Gennady's 38 now. Mm-hmm. He's 38 years old now, and he, you know, most fighters don't fight till they're 38 years old, especially middleweights. You know, let me look at the top middleweights today. You got the Charlo, you got Munguia, you got Canelo. What is Canelo now? 28 now, 29. 28. I mean, these guys are still young men in comparison.
Yeah, absolutely.
36. Like I mean, he's closer to 40 than he is to 30.
It's just a common. It's the same thing with the Cubans and the Eastern Europeans. They always have that age situation because they stay amateur for so long, and both their countries for so many years frowned on them turning pro. It was always about, you know, keep them in the amateur ranks and stuff. So, but overall, like I said, good victory for Arthur Beterbiev. You know, it turned out to be the only bright point of the entire card.
I mean, it was an entertaining fight because you didn't know what was going to happen. You're like, oh my God, look at this. And then, and really in this rounds, what, like 7, 8, and 9, 7 in the 7th round when he dropped Browne first at the first time he dropped him, and then he really tried to put him away, couldn't get him out of there. Then in the next round, he comes out and Marcus Browne comes back and wins that round. I think Beterbiev punched himself out a little bit. Yep. He did, and that was the first time I actually saw him take like 1 or 2 steps back.
I literally wasn't gonna.
He got caught in that.
Yeah. Well, Marcus Browne got away from what he knew he had to do. He had to land the one punch that Arthur Beterbiev has always been susceptible to is the left hook. And he wasn't throwing it for some reason. Who knows whether maybe he was afraid it was coming back. But in the post-fight thing, I knew I just couldn't handle these announcers right away. They started bringing up Canelo's name. And like I said,
I shut it up immediately.
You know, I'm just like, you know what? You know, take care of the people within your division. At your age, don't wait for anybody. You're absolutely right, bro. You got to stay active at this age. I don't care who you fight next. You just got to keep fighting. There's some good challenges out there. I would love to see him against Callum Smith, maybe against, God, I'm going to say his name wrong again.
Buatsi.
There we
Joshua Buatsi from the UK, the Nigerian.
Craig Richards just won the title over, you know, going out to I couldn't believe that happened. So that was another one. But
quick question, Michael. How in the world do you get everybody's names correct all the
he's
time?
good at that. That's what I'm saying.
God,
I have a good memory.
Well,
when
I
it comes
just,
to this.
you know,
You
I
should be a
just,
ring
I,
announcer.
I try to know the guys I'm talking, you know what I mean? I mean, some of them are hard, you know, I always get Cavas Lucas names wrong, but I try to know, but I've seen Joshua Buatsi fight a couple of times. So,
Yeah.
and he's very
That's
heavily
just
promoted by Matchroom and DAZN. And so,
But see, when they say his name over there in the UK, they say it weird. And it's like when you got some of these guys from UK and some of them are from Ireland, it's like it confuses me sometimes, you know. And I'm not even gonna try with the that's why I love that Loma just calls himself Loma. I love it, dude. Just make it easy, you know. I don't want to have to go through all that stuff. So
yeah. Let's go ahead and then jump to the cards that took place on Saturday. There were two of them, right? The first one came from Manchester, England. It was an early card for us on DAZN. Main event. I don't know if there's anything really worth talking about on the undercard, but the main event turned out to be just a barn burner. It turned, I mean, true to his word, Joshua Parker fought the way he said he was going to fight, and I did not expect that at all. I cannot lie. I was working during the day, so I missed the fight live, but I did go back and watch it. The replay. Oh my God, what a great fight. What a great fight. Either way, Joseph Parker wins a unanimous decision over Derek Trusora. Dropped him twice, I think, two or three times. Three times. I mean, AJ, you said it best. You posted something about it as well. I mean, no matter where he goes from here, let's hope he calls it a career. Because you know, there's no sense in continuing to be a gatekeeper. I know Eddie Hearn and Matchroom has been paying him well. I think it's time for Derek Trusora to ride off into the sunset. That's his 12th loss now. But Joseph Parker came into this fight 10 pounds heavier, and I immediately noticed that. Noticed that he was heavier and he looked stronger. And that's the Joseph Parker from a few years ago I
absolutely agree, bro. I mean, as proud of as I was for Joseph Parker, for him actually going out there and playing the tough guy for the first time in a long time. He kind of set the role of like the nice friend, you know, who you hit in the arm too hard and he's like, all right, let's go, dude. You know, but now he was a tough guy, and he was in there with the right opponent in Derek Trusora. In the beginning, I wasn't a big Trusora guy, but I learned to love Trusora because I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't matter who he fights. You look at his fights against people like Alexander Usyk, against, you know, Anthony Joshua. It's a guy who comes to fight and puts his heart out there. He never won the big title, but he's always been kind of like a people's champion. He had a big mouth for a while, but the thing I loved about it was there was moments where it looked like Parker was going to put him away, and Trusora would come back and rock Parker. I mean, it was like I thought I was watching Rocky versus Apollo Creed. It was like that. These guys were out of gas, and that's why I wrote what I wrote. Is that, you know, just thinking Derek Trusora, you know, for those memories, because, you know, kind of like with Johnny. You know, Johnny didn't win the big title, but no one's going to forget, you know, Matisse and Ruslan and all those. They're not going to forget those things.
Yeah. I mean. He earned his reputation in the ring. He was never given the easy road, and he never took the easy road. And
that reminds me of something right there, bro. Would you rather, just on a quick pro crow, would you rather be remembered as being the tough guy who didn't avoid anybody, and maybe you didn't have the glossy record and didn't win the millions? Or would you rather be the guy who wins the millions, kind of cherry picks things and does it at your own pace? What would you be?
Oh, well, all you got to do is look at guys like Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti, John Molina, guys that actually went out there and fought as true gladiators. And then, I mean, and then you look at guys like Andre Ward, who finished undefeated. And other than boxing journos kissing his rear end from here to the end of time, nobody outside of the boxing journos that have a vested interest to promote him care. When he retired, it was like, what happened? Who retired? No, who cares?
I think you told me, Mike.
When Saul Canelo Alvarez retires, that's going to be a thing. When Arturo Gatti retired, and when Arturo Gatti was, you know, met his demise, whether you want to say it was a murder or what, people cared, and people still talk about it. Nobody cares.
With Valerio too, Evan Valerio.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is that I was looking at is, you know, you got Floyd Mayweather. The reason I brought this up, because you got Floyd Mayweather out there, you know, trying to always downsize everything that Canelo does. And we know why, because Floyd's not instrumental in boxing in that way anymore. And Canelo's taking these risks and doing these things, and it kills Andre Ward, and he's going to be negative about it. So just out of a thing, I went back and I watched the Floyd Mayweather versus a 23-year-old Canelo Alvarez. There was a guy who was commentating named Colonel Bob Sheraton. What an absolutely horrible broadcast. you see
that must have been on a different broadcast, right? Because I think when the normal fight, it was Jim Lampley was calling it,
no,
right?
Jim Lampley was there too, but this guy was with them too. This Colonel
Bob Sheridan. Yeah, he was a sports. Yeah.
And he's sitting here talking about, and I'll make it quick because we got a lot to talk about. Second round, Canelo goes in there and he lands a couple decent punches and stuff, but Floyd, does his, is basically bait hook and misses most of his stuff. And after the end of the round, the guy actually says, well, it may look like Canelo had a better round than round one, but still just an absolutely flawless round by Floyd. And Canelo is really out of his. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, what fight are you watching?
Yeah, there's AJ, the best guys to call fights, the most honest, most respected amongst actual boxers and their peers are two guys that don't even call the fights anymore: Teddy Atlas and Paulie Malignaggi.
Yeah,
and prior to that, Bobby Ches.
Yeah,
Bobby Ches. You know who the absolute best announcer is? Whenever you're watching a boxing match, the mute.
Yeah, who's actually not bad from the UK? But I do not mind him. Is Carl? Yeah, I never cared for him as a fighter, but Carl Froch is spot on when he calls a fight. He does not grab ass. He does not play the hometown, cheerleader. He's very objective, and I'm shocked that he doesn't work more events for the zone. Like
Demetrius Andre. I can't stand him as a fighter, but the guy's actually good behind the mic.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's actually pretty good behind the mic. Yeah. So
that was on that. So great fight.
So where does Parker? Where does Parker go? Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Where does Parker go from here, guys? I mean, he's obviously really good friends with Tyson Fury. Where does he go from here? Does he try to go challenge? Does he try to challenge Usyk? What does he do? I mean, obviously the goal as a heavyweight is to become a champion. With the belts now in the hands of Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, where does Joseph Parker go?
For me, Parker still needs that key victory.
Signature win.
Yeah, I understand that Derek Trusora, he's a tough guy. He gave it his all, but you said it best, Bruce, a while ago. He just suffered his 11th or 12th professional loss.
Derek Trusora does exactly what he's brought in to do: give a tough fight, but lose. Yeah.
Joseph Parker needs a guy like Luis Ortiz or maybe even Andy Reese. He needs something like that. So when you talk about a guy who's not really stepping up and face him, and you're not going to tell me that these guys are turning their backs on Joseph Parker. Okay. It's time for Joseph Parker to really look at his career because he's getting older. The weight gain obviously helped him, but everybody knows when you put weight on, it takes a little bit more toll on your body too.
Yeah.
So, he's going to start aging a little bit faster. So he doesn't have a whole lot of time right now. I don't think he's competitive against Tyson Fury or Alexander Usyk. I don't think he beats Deontay Wilder. I definitely don't think he beats Luis Ortiz. He might beat Andy Ruiz because I just think Ruiz is mediocre. But there's a lot of guys out there that are going to knock. So maybe Parker's happy where he's at. I don't know. But, I mean, he's got to take that risk. And if he gets knocked out in one round, kind of like Michael Spinks doing against Mike Tyson, sometimes you just got to take that chance, man.
Yeah. We have speaking of heavyweights really quick, on the 1st of February, which is a Saturday, we do have Luis Ortiz back in the ring. He's fighting Charles Martin. Yeah. Jared Washington's on the card. Michael Coffey's back on the card. Frank Sanchez, who just beat the Nigerian, his name escapes me right now. F.A. Jagba, he's on the card. So I'm actually a little intrigued by that Charles Martin Luis Ortiz fight because prior to when he stunk it up against Joshua, I thought Charles Martin had some decent skill, but to me, it's always been about his conditioning and his commitment level. But he actually was not a bad fighter, No,
he wasn't.
But we'll see. That's going to be an interesting fight.
The fight that I'm actually looking for there, that's Jerry Rice. It's a rematch against Jerry Rice, right?
Jonathan Rice.
Jonathan Rice. Well, they call him Jerry Rice. I don't know why they put it Jonathan, but they call him Jerry Rice. That's an interesting fight because I'll tell you right now, I like Michael Coffey. How can you not like a guy, ex-military? He's a great guy. But Rice has got a great story too, man. I mean, here's a guy that's just, two really good fighters, man. So, maybe Joseph Parker goes after the winner of that, actually gets a guy on the way up rather than a guy kind of drifting on the way down.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the zone and Matchroom and where Joseph Parker has resided the last couple of years fighting a lot of UK fighters and in the UK, they don't really have, who do you have there? You can't even say Tyson Fury because Tyson Fury, even though he's a UK fighter, he's based here in America now. He fights primarily in America. You have Dillian White, Trusora, up until recently with Povetkin, who's done. But you had like this round robin of 4 to 6 guys that just kept fighting each other over and over and over again.
I know.
So if Joseph Parker wants to make some noise, and actually he's got to come back across the pond, he's got to come back stateside, and he's got to fight for a different promotion. It's just, it is what it is.
Now, is Joseph Parker, did he ever fight Dillian White?
Yeah, he lost to Dillian White.
I was gonna say
he had Dillian and White almost out in the final round, but he just stunk up the joint. Really, he did.
Well, always kills me about Trusora. Trusora was tired after the second round. I mean, Dillian White doesn't get tired like that. So I don't think Joseph Parker with the weight gain is going to beat Dillian White. I don't think all that much of Dillian White, but
yeah,
Dillian
he already lost to Dillian White. Yeah.
All right. Got it.
Let's go ahead and Eric, did you get a chance to watch the late card yesterday on DAZN, the one from San Antonio?
I did not. We had I had rooms all the way here till after 10 o'clock.
Well, that's good.
Yesterday. So, I mean, I was literally interacting with customers, so I didn't get a chance to do that. And then, of course, I had to get here early today, so I just haven't had the time to actually watch those fights. But I will absolutely get a chance to watch them on the replays, because they sound like some of them were.
Yeah, you should watch that Zurdo fight. It's interesting. It's interesting for a guy that and we'll go ahead and just segue into that fight. We'll go ahead and he ended up stopping the Unieski Gonzalez in the 10th round. It was a TKO. Referee jumped in and saved Gonzalez, he wasn't terribly hurt, but he wasn't punching back. And the referee gave him every opportunity, before jumping in. Either way, what's funny about Zurdo is here's a guy that jumped up from 168 to 175, maybe because obviously it was just too hard for him to continue to make 168. But they talk about Jaime Munguia taking a lot of shots. My God.
I know.
This guy, just look at his face. His face was busted up. He had bruises in places I didn't think you can get bruises in.
Eric, like you said, Gonzalez was so slow. And I can't use the term I said earlier today because I'll probably get, a mark against me. But I'll put it in this. If I was across the street right now, 50 feet away from you had a bowling ball, and you threw a bowling ball at me, I have to get out of the way of the bowling ball. And it's going to be pretty easy, right? Zurdo wouldn't. He's going to get hit with it. That's how the guy that's and then the ball coming over, the speed of the ball, how slow it is. That's about the speed of Gonzalez's punches. Guy's just slow as molasses, dude.
And then crazy. I heard Zurdo after the fight. Did he say that he made the comment that the Bivol fight is an easy fight for me? I'm thinking, not based on what I just saw.
But
I thought Bivol has slipped
going after Bivol, the what I think is the weakest link in the light heavyweight division in the champions.
Well, that's what they're gonna do. He's gonna go try to get the belt so that he could try to use it as leverage against Beterbiev, however you say it. I don't know. I'm not impressed with Zurdo at all. Here's a guy whose lack of discipline and whatever, pulling out of fights, maybe not knew he wasn't going to make weight, so fights were canceled, postponed, pushed back, whatever. It's not high on the guy. I know De La Hoya is high on him right now, and they're really trying to make a push with the guy because really, other than Jaime Munguia, who they only co-promote, and Virgil Ortiz, who do they have?
Nobody.
And Senicia Estrada, who they have nobody on that roster anymore.
You know who Zurdo Ramirez reminded me of, bro, honestly? And it was somebody that would get under your skin. He reminded me of Chavez Jr., a guy who just doesn't have that dedication to the sport. He wants all the glamour, he wants the money, he wants to shine, but he doesn't want to do the work. You know what I'm saying?
And he's acting like he's fighting the best fighters in the division and looking impressive. He's not. He's just not.
Well, when you get a guy like Sergio Mora, who I'm going to continue to bash this guy because I just cannot stand where his, he's right up there with Tim Bradley. And you look at Zurdo Ramirez's his ring resume, which really contains nothing. A couple former champions that were really former champions. When you're fighting guys like Arthur Abraham, come on. My son was even born when Arthur Abraham was fighting actively and stuff. His best victories were the ones against Jesse Hart. But let's be honest, Jesse Hart was out of his element. Jesse Hart is not a natural 175 pounder. I've said this for a long time, Zurdo is you saw that, they talked about Gonzalez being this huge puncher. I don't think he's a huge puncher, I just don't think Zurdo's as durable as they claimed he is. Jaime's a guy, obviously, with his age being so young and he's still a big guy. if Jaime did that jump up to 168, and if Zurdo was able to come down, I'd like to see that matchup because I think it's easy pickings for Munguia. But what gets me is to hear Sergio and how biased he is, and how the derogatory statements he makes about a person of Munguia's caliber who lives in the gym, but yet gives a pass and just glorifies everything Zurdo that he's not.
Yeah, well, once again, I mean, Sergio Mora owes his entire career to Oscar De La Hoya, right? Oscar De La Hoya put him on the contender, right? Oscar De La Hoya, through his connections with the Zone, when they signed that contract, right, with Golden Boy, got him as an announcer on the Zone. He owes his entire career to Oscar De La Hoya, so of course he's going to promote the full-fledged Golden Boy fighter and not the partial. And like I said, once again, all you have to do is watch an interview with Jaime Munguia, or watch anything when he's not in the ring, when he's anywhere. Like he was just recently in Guadalajara. Like this is the last couple of days, an event down there, and he's down there sitting at dinner with his promoter, Fernando Beltran. He never says my promoter, Oscar De La Hoya. He always says, I want to thank my promoter, Zanfer Promotions. So there's why. That's why Sergio Mora says what he says. Well, he critiques Munguia so heavily.
The crazy thing was there was a guy on this one channel on TikTok, and I reached out to him stuff because he's been doing this boxing channel, and he actually got back with me, and I actually brought up Zurdo Ramirez, and I said, you're looking pretty good. Why don't you make that comeback? And that's Kelly Pavlik. He looked good. I was like, dude, Kelly was a good fighter. I mean, obviously, I've been out of boxing for a while, but he does an instructional thing where he teaches people about boxing. I'm tired of watching these guys that have this fancy equipment. He's just in a little gym. But Kelly's doing it the right way, and I appreciate it, and I liked it. And I told him I would move his stuff forward.
Was there any other fights on that card, that the Zone card, that were even worth mentioning? Really?
Give me 1 second, bro. I'm trying to think right now. There was Zurdo, Lamont Roach, but he's another guy. I saw him in his loss against Jamal Herring, a fight in which he hurt Herring. In the last round. He was going up against a guy. I felt bad for Rene Alvarado. Rene Alvarado is a tough veteran and stuff, who was kind of been given his last opportunity after that Gutierrez loss. Yeah. But other than that, just some novice guys. They had a couple girls that were fighting that were just, I mean, really not much, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'll tell you honestly what was good, what was entertaining, and I don't have the information in front of me. Right after the fight had ended, there was Thompson's fights. Thompson Promotion was running. They had a show that was going on.
Oh, okay.
And they had a kid that was fighting in the main event, and they call him Ace. Ace Torres, I believe it is. He won his 17th fight. I gotta say, man, the kid's a lightweight 135 pounder, almost 6 foot tall. He's got speed, he's got power. Thompson's got himself a gem in this guy. And they're talking about him stepping up and fighting maybe a guy like a Nakatani or whoever else is in there. He's definitely going to break the top 10 at the beginning of next year and stuff. But the whole card that I was watching, because I kept bouncing back and forth on Thompson, and I wish I had more information from me, it was a really good card.
Was it?
It was a good card. House.
Was it out there in Corona at Omega Sports, or was it?
I'll tell you right now. I'll look for it right now. But so talk about some fights that are coming up, Mike, while I look for this information.
Well, like I said, there's this weekend's going to be a very slow weekend. Obviously, with Christmas, a week from, 6 days from now, it's going to be a slow weekend. There's really nothing. There's a couple developments that have happened, a couple of fights that were signed that if you guys want to talk about, one of them being they finalized the Keith Thurman. It's February the 5th. It's a Saturday. Keith Thurman will be fighting Mario Barrios, who just lost to Tank Davis. Lost his version of the WBA strap to Tank Davis. Mario Barrios and Keith Thurman will be fighting a pay-per-view, which I don't understand. Yeah. February the 5th. It's a fight that I'm intrigued to see. I want to see Keith Thurman back in the ring. He hasn't fought in a while, but pay-per-view. I mean, I really hope they're not expecting, I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of greed going on right now within the PBC, making all these fights pay-per-view, and they're really not pay-per-view worthy, I don't think.
It's funny you should say
they're trying to pay for their Christmas bills. That's
maybe
they're doing.
I'm going to pop something up here, Mike, and then you can talk a little bit about it in a minute. But it's funny you should talk about pay-per-view because the final numbers came out on the Tank Davis versus Isaac Cruz, and they were absolutely horrible at 45,000. And I love that they showed
45,000.
45,000. They showed Tim Tszyu in Australia where he had 96, 100,000. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the bottom line is, I understand what what he's trying to do, but it's not going to work. It's no different than when he fought against Canelo. He lived in Vegas and they booed him in the ring. You know, I understand he's a draw, but come on, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, Tank's just not the draw he thinks he is. I mean, people don't understand. Everybody's like, well, did you see the house against Santa Cruz? Yeah, I guarantee a lot of that was because of Santa Cruz, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they're saying here, yeah, a reputable source had, it was well under 100,000. I don't know what that means, but you know, it takes two, man. Unless you're Canelo Alvarez or
this
anybody
ESPN
that.
pound for
Yeah, I just popped it up there just so because Mike.
Oh yeah, we were going to talk about a little bit about this pound for pound rankings.
Terrence Crawford, what is he doing way the hell up there?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't really have an issue with the fighters on there, but the order and the sequence is completely distorted and wrong, and it's very I don't even know.
It's like,
really,
why is Davis above Kambosos? That's
makes
well,
zero sense at all.
I think there's an argument for everything, and you know, maybe we could just run through. We really got to do the whole top 10. We could just do top 5. But I'll start first. Just I'll go quick because I'm looking for this information.
Yeah, I have no problem with Canelo Alvarez being number 1 because
we're universal on that.
Universal, it's what he's done in the ring and also what he's done in terms of popularity, pay-per-view. He really is carrying the sport. So if part of the fringe benefit of carrying the sport right now is saying, okay, Canelo, we're going to prop you up at number 1 until you lose or look really, really bad. I have no problem with that. It's now, from there.
Number 2, number 2 is where we're going to have issues. For me, number 2, I would have Nainoya, only based on the fact of the quality of opponents that he's fought and the way in which he's pretty much destroyed them. You know what I'm saying? With exception to his tough bout against Nonito Donaire, he's been absolutely perfect. And in his last fight, he showed another variation of himself against, pretty decent guy. My number 3, right off the bat, would be Alexander Usyk. I give it to Usyk just based on his success in the cruiserweight, which has been completely overshadowed by most of the media. They don't realize how dominant he was in the cruiserweight division.
He unified every title in less than 20 fights.
Yeah. And so, I mean, like I said, he comes
15 fights or 16 fights or something like that?
Yeah. He comes in at my number 3. My number 4, I wanted to give it to Josh Taylor based on being the unified champion, but I got to go with Errol Spence just based on the quality of opposition that he's faced. Josh Taylor's faced some good opposition too, but not quite at the level of Errol Spence right now, because Errol Spence, just a little bit more household names that Errol Spence is fought against. Not to say that Josh Taylor hasn't. And obviously my number 5, it was a tough thing between Vasily Lomachenko and Josh Taylor, but I had to go with Josh Taylor because he owns the 3 straps and he earned them the hard way.
Yeah. You're right.
You know, that's what
Eric, what do you feel about that top 10, Eric?
Well, yeah, I would definitely go with Canelo on number 1. And I'm right there with you on Inoue for number 2, AJ. I'd put Errol Spence 3. Let me see, Usyk 4. And I'm going for Kambosos number 5.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, look at Teofimo Lopez was God's gift to boxing a year ago, right? And he automatically ascended to it. Yeah. And then like I said, I mean,
impressed the hell out of me.
No.
Yeah. I mean, you have a good argument for just the replacement theory. It's like, okay, Teofimo was here, Kambosos beat him. Why can't he take his spot? Oh, because it's George Kambosos. Oh, because Teofimo had a cough. He has ass. You know, all that doesn't mean anything.
Well,
it's nonsense. It's just, I mean, pound for pound rankings is so flawed as it is.
Yeah,
they're just so flawed.
It's an opinion. That's
all it is, really.
Opinion.
Yeah,
it's just like, at least it's not as bad as the BCS. You know, I mean, it's college football.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that too. My top 5, what I think, I have no problem with Canelo being number 1. I did put Alexander Usyk at number 2 in my top 5, and only because he's undefeated.
No,
he's unified. He's unified all 4 belts at cruiserweight and has 3 belts at heavyweight. Something that nobody said he could do.
Has an amazing smile.
Exactly.
He's such a weirdo, dude.
He's such a weirdo. I think I have Josh Taylor in my top 5 as well as Errol Spence. I think I got Spence right above Taylor, and I do have Kambosos in my top 5 because, like you said, Eric, I mean, he did the job.
Yeah,
he did the job, and I'm so tired of hearing people say, "Well, did Teofimo overlook?" But it doesn't matter. It does not matter. And I said this a week ago when we talked. Maybe George Kambosos was overtrained. He trained for 12 straight months. He overtrained. So who knows? Maybe next version with the normal training camp, we get a better George Kambosos. So either way, like I said, I think Inoue is great. Skill wise, he's phenomenal. My only problem with Inoue right now is that he fights in a division that it's tough. It's not real hard. And like I said, guys at 140, 147, 135, to me, that's the hotbed of talent right there.
Absolutely. Josh
Taylor, Errol Spence, George Kambosos, between 135 and 147, to me, is the best talent in boxing. It used to, and the title changes hands.
130 between 130 and 142 are
147
division.
Yeah, you could even say 130, but to me though, a year ago, 147 was the hottest division. Right now, to me, it's 135. Well, you got Lomachenko, you got Tank, you got Haney, you got Garcia, you got Kambosos.
I think that pool's starting to thin out a little bit, honestly, bro. When you look at the 135-pound division and stuff, Kambosos winning this fight in the manner in which he won it. Once again, we're in a society, we're in a world right now where it seems like whenever somebody trips up, they're looking to blame somebody else for their failures. They're looking to find excuses, that weren't bequeathed on them from the gods. The bottom line is Kambosos was in a damned if I do, damned if I don't position going into this fight. He just wanted to beat Teofimo and prove he could do it and become one of the greatest fighters in Australia. I think we got the young influx of the Devin Haney's, but I think the script is kind of written on Devin Haney. We're starting to see more, and I think the Jojo Diaz fight showed a lot of the flaws that Devin Haney has. And his first and most lucrative flaw is his mentality. The fact that he thinks that he's so above everybody. Haney's going to be that guy who's just going to, what happened to Paul the Punisher Williams, is just going to walk into one and boom, that's it. Good night. Tank Davis is starting to look a little bit like not who we thought he was. Don't get me wrong, he's tough and stuff, but maybe he has some very selected, perfectly matched people that he beat.
Exactly.
Because I'm starting to look at it now, and I know I mentioned this the other day about Ryan Garcia, and I know Ryan Garcia is one of those guys that just irritates the shit out of people. I get it. Okay. I get it. I used to sit across the street with Tim. We used to throw oranges at him. Okay. I get it. But the bottom line is the kid does possess certain things about him. And one of them is confidence, but confidence with caution. And that's the key. You go back and you look at some of his key fights. I'm going to just pick 2, the Luke Campbell and the Fonseca fight. The Luke Campbell, because Luke Campbell was very competitive against Lomachenko. Don't get me wrong. Lomachenko did what he had to do to Luke Campbell. But that was the best form of Lomachenko you're going to see. That was not the Teofimo Lopez version of Lopez. Ryan Garcia goes in there against Luke Campbell, gets dropped, gets up, fights back. Actually, I thought won the rest of the round if you could do it that way.
Yeah.
And comes back and stops Campbell with a devastating body punch. He did the same thing against Fonseca, a guy who pushed Tank to the limit. He goes in there and he lands one punch and knocks him out. It's the range in which he does it. It's his punch selections.
He's speed. He's got speed.
People want to say whatever they want to say about the Reynosos, and I understand it, but it's not even the Reynosos. When you're in a camp where you got guys like Canelo and other ones that are surrounding you, you're only going to get better. I think Ryan Garcia is going to be the overlook guy. I think he's the guy who's going to be the big challenge later on if Kambosos is still sitting on top. He's going to have to face this young gun, because I think Ryan Garcia, I think he beats Tank Davis. I hate to say it, man. Based on what I saw with Isaac Cruz and based on what I saw with Leo Santa Cruz.
Well, look at it like this, okay? The ranginess and the difference and the height difference and range and reach that Mario Barrios displayed against Tank Davis. Mario Barrios was winning that fight.
Oh, yes.
His problem is that he doesn't possess a punch. No. So when he would hit Tank, Tank never really feared anything. Ryan Garcia does have pop. Mm-hmm. He does have pop. That'll be the difference right there. I agree with you. I'm not saying if Ryan Garcia fights tomorrow, he'll beat Tank, because he needs a fight or two to get his body, because he hasn't fought in over a year. I mean, he's whatever issues he's dealing with, he needs to somehow overcome those. But I agree with you. That fight will never happen. That fight will never take place. There's one thing Floyd will never do. Floyd will never put himself in a vulnerable position against Oscar De La Hoya or a prodigy of Oscar De La Hoya. That fight will never happen. They can offer Tank $10 million right now, and they will not make that fight. Guaranteed.
The only reason why I brought it up was because Tank and them brought it up about Ryan Garcia making comments. Ryan Garcia posted a Twitter the other day where he was very, very calm. And he's just sitting here like he was chewing some gum. And he was like, so Tank, wants to do this. He's all, yeah, I'm coming. I'll be back. And yeah, let's, if that's what you want to do, we'll do it. But I noticed something when I was looking at Garcia. He's starting to really come into his man strength too. And he's going to be a physically big guy. I'm telling you right now. He's one that they're always going to just kind of like, because of the Oscar De La Hoya connection and, the situation with the Reynosos and stuff, he's going to live in the shadow of Canelo. But I'm telling you, this is the guy, if you look at the 135-pound division, he's the guy that can go in there and do something. And even against a masterful guy like Vasily Lomachenko, because even though Lomachenko has skills and what he possesses inside there, he is hittable at times. And Ryan Garcia is displaying some pretty devastating power at 135.
Yeah, no, he is. But like I said, I mean, I'm gonna reserve my judgment on Garcia till I see him back in the ring. I want to see what happens when he comes back.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was on the right track. He could be in the mix right now, but unfortunately, he can't talk his way into the mix. Or maybe he can. I don't know. Maybe one of these guys will say, all right,
I don't even know why he stepped away from it. I don't know what happened.
He had some mental issues or something. He had like a mental breakdown and needed to see some counseling or something like that. And
look at that pipe.
I don't know. But so anyways, we can, to finish up on that top 10, it's a flawed rating system. We all have opinions on what we think, but with the way that the so-called experts put their list together and the reasoning behind it, it's so agenda driven and just wrong. You have to just be objective when you look at it. We're not getting paid by ESPN or PBC or Matchroom or DAZN. We're just objective about it. And I think we make compelling arguments for what we say. There's nobody here that's going to say, no, Canelo's not number one. There's nobody here that's say, oh no, Josh Taylor doesn't belong in the top 5 or Kambosos or Inoue. There's nobody that can say that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it really is. It's just kind of hard to, you see some of the other people out there, and there's just such a mixture, and you see some people that just get in there like, I know some people be like, well, Estrada, he had that really great win against Chocolatito. Yeah, what else did he have other than that?
In that last fight against Chocolatito, it was disputable.
I thought Chocolatito won the fight myself personally.
Exactly, and that was my reasoning for not putting him higher on my top 10. I said no, because it was a questionable win. He did not look great. He didn't.
Now, here's another. This was very different. So I'm just gonna bring this up real quick, guys, so you can see it. This is another one that I saw that came up the other day. I don't know if you can see it. It's a little bit different. So this is a men's pound for pound current, boxing action.
I can't see it. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So you got in a way at number 1,
Jose Ramirez.
Jose Ramirez. I'm sorry. Manny Pacquiao, Vasily Lomachenko, Errol Spence, Navarrete, Mikey Garcia, Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah,
it's a very different look.
Yeah, I don't agree with this list at all. How can Jose Ramirez be? If the Jose Ramirez lost his title to Josh Taylor.
Yeah. So,
that must have been, like I said, I mean, agenda driven. People let their feelings cloud their judgment on what they want to see.
Yeah. But I think a lot of that's what's happening right now in boxing. I didn't want to talk about the Jake Paul thing because that was just completely a joke. And somebody
I want to talk about that.
But the one thing I will say is that boxing just has to continue to be boxing. We got some young up and coming fighters coming up. I like to see some of these fighters, and I noticed it in the Thompson thing. These guys weren't talking. These are guys like how we're dating those guys. These are guys that's just trying to build their careers. It's not going to come easy. No one's going to hand it to you. The Devin Haney, Devin Haney's going to be one of those guys that, you're going to turn around. He's going to say he's got 8 world titles. And you'll be like, when did you win 8 world titles? And how can you win 8 world titles and your resume looks like this? Doesn't make sense. They're going to Floyd Mayweather, regardless if he wants to acknowledge it or not. Tank Davis has got to wake up and realize Floyd's destroying his career. The length in which the fights are going to happen at this point now, the opponents that Floyd's always waiting for somebody to get a little old or come off something bad or take that jump to another division. And it's, and in Gervonta's situation, Gervonta's got skills. He's a tough guy, but I've noticed this pushback. For some reason, he's trying to be a little bit of a boxer now. And Gervonta Tank Davis, to me, isn't a boxer.
Doesn't have the stature. He's 5'5". He can't box anybody at 5'5". Yeah.
It's no different than when I remember I saw this interview with Floyd Mayweather. He was talking about Adrian Broner, how he was going to get Broner away. Broner was a banger. He was a guy who possessed boxing skills, but he just go in there and just go back and watch his fights against guys like Jason Litzau. And Floyd made him a defensive-minded boxer and destroyed his career. He's going to do the same thing to Tank Davis. Floyd's bad for the sport. For him to go out there and say things like Canelo was easy work. Yeah, at 22 years old, that version, maybe you think he was easy work, but he wasn't. This version today, he put you in a casket. There's got to be a respect level. Some of the old timers are always claiming, you guys don't respect us. Well, you don't respect us either. Because when an old timer looks at you and makes an assumption of your career and that he would beat you at this level of your career right now, he's disrespecting you because you're never going to know.
You see how Canelo usually just takes a high road and just kind of brushes them off. Like, he said something, I think he did say something a couple weeks ago. He said jealousy it's an ugly disease. And, I wish
he could, man. Yeah. You see it. I mean, Andre Ward pretty much exposed himself when he worked with Caleb Plant. When you go to an opposing, when has Andre Ward ever offered his services to anybody? Never. But he's going to go and help Caleb Plant in this instrumental moment at the 168-pound division because he didn't want Canelo to get that thing. You know what I'm saying? And right away, him and Tim Bradley out there talking on the guy at the cruiserweight because they're saying that Canelo's avoiding David Benavidez. Go back and watch David Benavidez' last. I like David, but David's not going to beat Canelo Alvarez. He doesn't have the skill level. He's a strong guy. He might catch him with something, but he doesn't do the work in the gym. Listen to his own trainer, his dad, speak about him. It's a hit and miss with him. Is he going to get up today? Is he going to run today? Is he going to do this today?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. And I know that Canelo said he made a comment just this past couple of days. He said Benavidez just doesn't offer anything to me, and
no title. There's nothing there.
Well, I mean, there's no title. I don't really think he's not a household name, Benavidez. There's no money in it. I think at this point, Canelo, he's going to go chase that cruiserweight fight, try to win a belt at cruiserweight. Well, I don't really know much about that fighter, but I think at this point, I think maybe Canelo after that fight, maybe he does come down and fight. He lets like the Charlos and all that sort themselves out. And then maybe he does fight one of the Charlos, or maybe he does fight Bivol.
Well, I saw that he did. I'm going to get past that, but I mean, I saw that he did talk about Gennady Golovkin, but he was very adamant about the fact he said, if I fight Gennady, we're fighting at 168. I'm not going back down to 160. And
Gennady's fight, got postponed, right? It was supposed to take place this week. Yeah.
Gennady's already said he will not fight at 168. So then bye. I don't want to hear about it no more. Gennady. You're not the A side anymore. You're not what you used to be. You're almost 40 years old.
Gennady at this point in his career, Gennady will be best served to just go fight Charlo, cross the street, go over to PBC fight. I don't think Andre really wants that fight, to be honest. I don't think Andre doesn't want to fight anybody. He don't want us to fight anybody. Yeah, he's like the Matchroom's version of Gary Russell, and skills, but you have to test your skills up against somebody. Be like working on a race car, just sprucing up the engine constantly, and you go, well, have you ever raced? Well, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, what's the point?
Well, it's like this new guy, Jared Anderson, in the heavyweight division. Everybody's so high on him, call him a feature champion.
No.
Okay. So is Jared Anderson?
It's just the what is it? It's just the people in search of the next great American heavyweight.
But this is my point on this. Is Jared Anderson a bad guy or a coward or a cherry picker because he avoids maybe a Luis Ortiz? Because Luis Ortiz brings little to the party, but in the event of a loss, there's going to be a huge drawback on his career. That's what's happening with a lot of these situations. That's what they don't understand with the situation with Canelo and David Benavidez. Don't get me wrong. I could pick a lot of guys out there that I think could be competitive or possibly beat Canelo Alvarez. But what are they bringing to dinner? Are they bringing anything that's going to help? Canelo could sell the pay-per-view, but he wants that reward. He wants those critical names where people go, oh, yeah, I know that guy, and I know that guy. They don't want to search like when they were looking at good nights, like, who the fuck is Steve Rolls? Who is this? Who is that? Those days, Canelo's past those days.
No, you're right. Like I said, and that's what I was saying. He could pick and choose meaningful fights. Yeah. I don't think he goes anywhere near 175. I just don't think he does. I think he stays at 168. And some of these younger guys coming up, maybe he does make that Charlo fight, or Charlo jumps from 160 to 168. I would love to see him in Munguia one day. I really would love to see that.
Oh, that's a fantasy matchup right there. But I'm going to disagree with you. I think Canelo might venture back to 175 because he's already been there. And I don't think, we at this point, it's hard to say what Canelo's going to do next. We just know he's striving to be epic. And while his career starts to wind down, and he's not even at the wind down stage yet.
Put it this way. I mean, he's quite honestly, he's still at his prime, and he's already pretty much epic. I mean, to have those unified titles, I mean,
yeah,
his name's in history books. There is no,
but he's shown vulnerability. There's vulnerability there. There's always that element that Canelo could lose, whether it's against at 175 against a guy like Beterbiev, or this cruiserweight that he's going to fight, or maybe even going back down to 160 and facing Gennady Golovkin. There's always that element where he could possibly lose, but it's the manner in which he wins and how he wins in these dramatic fashions. With Billy Joe Saunders, with Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant was in that fight. He was probably winning the fight, I thought.
Yeah, he was in the fight, yeah.
But you just never know what Canelo is always going to come. And that's from staying in the gym, and that's the dedication. That's what Canelo talks about when he talks about, he's looking for that thing, that special, something like what Cambosa is talking about. He wants a guy who's going to bring a challenge, not a guy who's just going to go in there and lay down,
That's true. Very true.
And I don't know. I mean, if Munguia and him were ever to fight,
I think Munguia knocks him out. I think Munguia knocks him out. I do. I honestly feel Munguia knocks him out.
He's got the power. He's definitely got the power. But that's a fight. I know you want to see it, Michael. I don't. Because I like both guys so much. I would hate to see that.
I like Munguia. I like Canelo for his skills, but not as a person. I wouldn't hang out with him and go have drinks. All right.
Yeah, I would really love to see Munguia get that fight, not only for just the challenge, but just financially. That will set him up. Him and his family up for,
or even 3 years from now.
But you know what? Because I know
3 years from now.
Thing. Mike, you know it best why Munguia and Canelo will never happen, because
you don't want to hurt the Mexican.
Guatemala, Guadalajara, Tijuana. Canelo's not just about winning titles. He wants to go down as the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. And for him to lose to a young lion coming up in Munguia would shatter all of that hard work that he's worked so hard to surpass guys like Clusas or Chavez.
I don't think so. I think it it's in the torch. And that's why I say 3 years, 4 years from now, if Canelo starts doing well and he starts to taper off, and then Munguia is getting better and better, pass the torch.
Chavez didn't want to pass the torch to Oscar De La Hoya. I'll tell you.
I know.
Go back and watch that fight.
No.
Look at Oscar De La Hoya, though. I mean, anyway.
He was a great fighter, man. Great fighter.
He was, but he's a cocky little. Anyway, never mind.
He was good.
Yeah, that guy's got problems, man. That guy's a cokehead. He's got problems.
Yeah.
Big problems.
He's got big problems.
Hey,
you know what I wanted to? I know we're about done right now, but I want AJ. Have you been keeping an eye on Richard Schaefer's new promotion, Probellum? They just signed another couple fighters.
A little bit.
Richard Schaefer is putting together a hell of a stable of fighters, and they're getting ready to promote, I think, their first big fight, big card. Man, keeping in another year or two from now, hey, this guy, this is going to be one of the heavy hitters players on the block.
No, this is Richard Schaefer, who worked with Golden Boy.
He ran Golden Boy, then he ran Ringstar Promotions.
Names of many fighters that have already signed with this promotion.
Oh, he's signed a bunch. He's signed all the Filipino guys. He signed Donaire, John Rayo Casimero, a couple of, but then he just branched out and signed another couple guys. I just saw the names that he signed one of the big Olympians coming out that everybody was trying to sign. Undefeated guys he signed. I was like, wow, yeah, they found a big cash flow somewhere. But anyways, that's something we should probably focus on a little bit, maybe in the show coming up, because like I said, there's not a whole lot of towards the end. There's really nothing much going on. We were supposed to get that Gennady Golovkin fight this week.
So what happened on that?
I got postponed because of travel restrictions, because Japan, it was supposed to take place in Japan, and they couldn't travel there. They have it not locked up, but it was going to be too difficult. So they postponed it. It's going to take place after the first of the year now. Fight I was looking forward to see, man. I want to see Gennady back into the ring.
I just want to see, against a tough guy. Well, it was going to be good to see Gennady back in the ring with somebody that actually is a little bit of a household name, as far as what he's done. He's a former champion himself. He's a tough guy from Japan and stuff. Yeah. With the exception to Derevyanchenko, Gennady hasn't really had a real test,
lately,
Sermenza and guys like Steve Rose and these other ones just aren't getting it done.
Yeah.
So
Yildirim,
it is what it is. But the guy possessed power. You just never know, because Gennadi's looked a little on the downside. But he's still a tough guy. He's still Gennady Golovkin, man.
He's still a tough guy. Yeah, he's training right now. I mean, supposedly he's still training up in Big Bear. So
yeah. I mean, it's sad. We're gonna have to do one day. We're gonna have to talk about. There's so many fighters within divisions where you kind of scratch your head and you go. Obviously, Luis Ortiz is one that comes right up. A guy who's having a fight here coming up soon against a former champion in Charles Martin. But you just gotta scratch your head and go, God, what's going on with Ortiz? Here's a guy that could be a major player in that heavyweight. When you're giving shine to Derek Trusora, no disrespect to Derek Trusora, but that should have been Joseph Parker versus Luis Ortiz, not Joseph Parker versus Derek Trusora.
Yeah,
which. It seems like Eddie Hearn has 3 cards that he brings to a 6-card game, and he just keeps playing those 3 cards. And it's got to stop. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not trying to put down Eddie Hearn. I love what he does, but
he's a little delusional. But
you got to look at your whole organization. I'm sorry, from top to bottom, it's still different than what we do on this show. We all bring a little bit different thing to as far as our perspective, but it's the people that speak for you. We speak for ourselves. The people that are speaking for Eddie, with it's Aka Brock and all these, they're making the show look really bad. It's coming really bad. The commentators like Sergio Mora, and you got Chris Mannix who argues with Sergio Mora about certain things in boxing. I'm like, when did you fight professional Chris Mannix?
I know he makes Sergio Mora look.
He bothers me so much.
I'm just sick of it, man.
We
don't live in the days, man, where if you would have said something like that to a guy like Paulie Malignaggi or Bobby Chen, you probably would have got smacked in the mouth.
Yeah,
yeah. But
all right, fellas. So we're about 10 minutes over. Let's go ahead and wrap this up, man. I am hungry.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of the weekend. Well, it's almost over. Have a good rest of the weekend. Well, yeah.
Both of you guys should have a package on your door here in just a little bit. So.
All right, cool.
Oh, hey, real quick, the boat parade came through last night.
Oh, it did.
Yeah, just the one boat came down. It was Tina's old one. Angie's old one.
Yeah.
Called Little Tina. Yeah, so it comes down. So Colt and us are over there, and we missed it the first time, and then it came back down. It was just the one boat. We're standing out there, and it's like 30 degrees outside, and Santa comes by and he throws the candy, and Colt catches 2 of them, and one of them hits me right in my eye. I'm like, God damn it, dude! I'm done, dude. And here we are standing out in the middle of this dark street, and it's a boat attached to a truck, and it's all dressed up like a Santa sleigh, and some cars are driving and looking at me like, hey, man, I was pissed off. I actually called the city. I was like, dude, why'd you guys reroute the boat parade? So one boat came through, the originator, Adams and their boat. Yeah, we had something. So whatever.
Tradition. They're trying to destroy all the traditions in this country, man.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyways. All right, guys. Well, good show tonight. Good conversation. It's going to be a little bit slow this week, but we'll still be back Tuesday to maybe talk about some developments. Guys, have a good night. Stay safe, man. Eric, I know it's cold up there, so stay warm and be safe driving. For everybody at Enter the Ring Live, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, whatever. And we'll see you guys next time. For your hosts, Mighty Mike,
AJ Rage,
and Eric the Red.
Have a good night, guys.